So recently, a question came up in the forums to actually look at some data that one had collected with a form to collect data about a um, band program in the schools. And the question was how to disaggregate this data. So I took a look at that and was helping the client with setting up data validation tables so that you could select multiple students. And as you selected students, their information would pull across. And then also looked at the fact that you could do the same thing with instruments, and you can do the same thing with your different bands. So, looking at that, I decided to build one of these systems out, and so it looks something like this. Basically, you have a form, and the form's pretty simple: a date, name, grade, what instrument, what band, and then whether or not they pass the different levels. So this is a multiple choice grid that we use for that. And of course, when you use a Google form, you do have some metrics that get automatically created that could be helpful for you to just quickly look at. But what we've done in addition to that then is to take the data that's coming in from the form, and then we're disaggregating that data. And in this case, we've built a validation table that's a validation of looking at the data column D. So as I add names to column D, these names pop in here for me. And then the data with a query gets pulled across based on this formula where D is equal to what I have in A2. So in this case, I'm pulling in a different student. I get the data from that student. Then all I'm doing really is doing some conditional formatting on that data, coming up with what levels these students have passed, and then building a simple graph here by I'm calculating the count if this area here is passed, count if this area here is failed, and then I'm doing a calculation here to show me what percentage they have. There's a formula that helps with that, and then we just simply build a graph out of these four cells to show how many times the student has passed, and that's all dynamic data. So as you switch between students, that shows how each student's doing. So that's what we've done with that, and then we do the same thing. Basically, I made this one, and then I duplicated it, changed a couple of pieces in some formulas to basically have a different validation table, and just change one thing in that formula to represent the instrument column, and so forth. So when we do all that, we end up with a way to look at by student, by instrument, by band as we collect all of this data. So imagine this is a middle school teacher with 200 students or more that they're dealing with, and this becomes a lot of data, and this lets me simply look at it quickly that way. Then I decided to take all this data and not only put it in this sheet, which, by the way, I can look at on the web. What I can't do on the web with the sheet is actually change these cells here. That can't be done. I could pop the sheet open like I have it here, and as I was showing you, if I have edit rights to the sheet, I can come in and make these changes and take a look at that. But to make it more dynamic on the web, then we've taken the data and applied it to an awesome table. So this is an example of what an awesome table looks like. The reason you see this set of columns here, this row in the data on the sheet, these are the awesome table filters that let me use the awesome table here to come through. And now with awesome table, I can use my filters, and I can just search for Welch. Notice it's very, very fast to find a particular student, or I can search for a band and with these filters, or I can just take a look at, I want to know who has passed level 4. And this is showing me that these are the people that have passed level 4 in any of their instruments. So a real quick way to sort through your data on the web. And then in addition, we added, for a different way to look at the Data Studio view, which basically is the same view of the same sheet. It's connecting to it's basically connecting to this sheet right here, the data that's collected from the form. And on the Data Studio view, again, like Awesome Table, I can filter. So I could filter on last name, and now I'm just looking at this last name. And what happens there is what this does that Awesome Table doesn't do is it lets me summarize the data with charts. So now I can see Welch has passed 3 level 1s, and so forth, level 2 and level 3, level 4, level 5. You could have, up to 10 levels. I think the one person might have been looking at wanting something like that. So again, I can use my filters. I can filter on name. I can filter on the kids in a certain grade. I can filter on just instruments. I can filter on just bands. Okay. I can also filter on levels, and notice that all of these change. So if I filter on grade, then my Data Studio report says, okay, I got 3 students in grade 8, no marching band. I got 1 room band, 1 jazz band. I've got trumpet, no tenor sax, drums, and so forth. And then it shows me how that data is filtered out with those particular levels that they might have done. So again, just another example showing the power of using Google Forms to collect data, and then using that data to disaggregate the data so I can view it in a dashboard in many different ways. And I can do it with the sheet, as you see here, see a little bit of that data. But on the web, I can't access this piece of data right there to change the instrument. But when I use an Awesome Table, I can go, hey, what's going on with trumpets? And I find my trumpets, and I find who's taken an exam on the trumpet and how they did. And then another piece of data I may not have shown. This is the ability to filter data, but also to sort data. So notice as I click the headers, I sort. That's also true down here. When I take a look at Data Studio, it does the same thing and lets me sort. So again, hope that's of interest, and keep coming back to G Suite Pros.